Hello friends, welcome to another episode of I Play Games and Film It, and welcome to Free Thought Fridays. Welcome to the weekend. I hope you've all had a good week. I hope it's been productive and marvellous and not boring at all. Yes, this week, it's quite a poignant week, certainly in the UK. I don't know if it's worldwide, but it's certainly in the UK. It's the beginning of Stoptober. So, for the month, there's a 28-day challenge where basically you stop smoking for 28 days. Now, some of you might already be thinking, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? Because surely after the 28 days is up, they start smoking again. Yes, that's very true. However, the idea behind it is that after 28 days of not smoking, you kind of don't want to go back to smoking because you feel so great and healthy and good. Because by 4 weeks, the nicotine's gone from your system, and the worst part of the anxiety and the cravings are gone. So ideally, it's over, as it were. You still have a few bit of pangs of anxiety, but for the most part, it's all gone. In kind of celebration of that, I wanted to do an episode. It certainly did get me thinking this week about addiction and how it affects us, how it controls us, and how perhaps underrated it actually is, really, because being a smoker myself, I know for a fact that I have indeed made decisions that if I weren't addicted to cigarettes or nicotine, I would never have made in a million years. And I think that kind of is a mirror of what addiction kind of plays as to people, and how it kind of relates to certain other conditions as well. So from the top, I looked it up, and it is indeed defined as, funny enough, an affliction that ignores any adverse side effects to your person. And it's most commonly related to drugs, like, obviously drugs and alcohol and things like that. But yeah, it's basically an affliction that means you ignore any kind of personal well-being, you ignore any adverse side effects or effects it might have on you, because you're basically latched onto it, and it's something in your head that we've gone beyond the definition now. But this is how I see it, certainly from the definition of it being a drug related or something like that. I do see it as a chemical, connection in your body that basically, almost like a parasite that latches onto your existence and goes, from now on, you cannot now live without this here. Hence the reason why when you try to stop something you're addicted to, your body suffers as much as your mind does, because you're suddenly trying to exist without it. It's almost like it's like a slowed down version of trying to exist without, say, oxygen, for example, because obviously your body can't exist without oxygen. Your mind knows your body can't exist without oxygen. Your body knows you can't exist without oxygen. So when you hold your breath or you can't breathe for a certain amount of time, it's a slow increase of panic, because it's losing out on that thing. Now, this is essentially what happens with certainly with nicotine, for example. I mean, the first day for me, I'll be honest, it started on Monday. The first day for me was a challenge, to say the least. It was awkward, because I drink a lot of coffee, and I forgot that nicotine actually breaks down the caffeine in your system. So if you were to drink the same amount of coffee as you would when you smoked and stop smoking, your caffeine levels in your system would actually become a lot higher, meaning that they'd have much more of an effect. Now, on the day that I stopped, I drank one really strong cup of coffee, but then I had 4 cups of tea with 2 tea bags in each cup. It was green tea. I just love the stuff, so I always overload. And by the end of the day, I was wired, and it was almost as if the entire day I was in a dream world. It was really very strange. And I kind of picture the same with when you play video games, for example. I mean, for all the gamers out there, we've all had those long-term stints where we played a game maybe over a matter of days, and it has been a regime of waking up, maybe even having breakfast, having a cup of tea, and then playing. And you play solidly for 12 hours, and then you maybe have something to eat while you're playing again. And then you play into the early hours of the morning. And suddenly, at some point, you have to go outside to do whatever, to buy milk or, replenish your fridge stocks or whatever you got to do. And you walk out of the building, and literally everything around you is like, this looks weird. I don't recognize any of this all of a sudden. And it does feel like you're almost dreaming, like it's not familiar anymore. And it's the same effect. It's kind of a reawakening almost of your whole system. But no, I mean that's coming off addiction. There's certainly ways in which you can kind of picture it being when you're coming off it. But more scary is, as I was mentioning earlier, the effects of the addiction itself. So yes, the idea is that your mind is blocked off from any side effects. So for example, smokers might commonly ignore the fact that they will have a much higher chance of getting lung cancer or cancer of any sort, for example. They might ignore the fact that their skin ages a lot faster, their teeth are stained yellow, meaning they look dirty and unhealthy and unclean, making the whole mouth look dirty and unclean. It costs a lot of money. You know, smokers will generally ignore all this because of their addiction. They know it's happening. They know that in the front of their mind, they can see that it's going on, but because of the addiction telling them, you know, it's okay. It's almost stroking its head going, don't worry, I'm here, you'll be fine. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. So the person who is addicted just assumes that and just continues on. And it's, I mean, I can't say from personal experience, but certainly you have those who are addicted to, say, crack or heroin or cocaine or anything. It'll be exactly the same thing. It'll be their release. And maybe they'll admit that they have a problem, but that's not them fully admitting they have a problem, because again, their addiction's going, you don't have a problem. There's no problem here. You don't have to worry about a thing. Everything is fine. Just go about your business. Keep using me, and everything will be fine. Keep fulfilling your needs, and you'll be okay. And that's how it'll continue to go. And what's scarier is that, as I said, I made some scary decisions back then. I mean, I remember when I was at college, I didn't really have a full-time job, so I didn't have a lot of money, but I was smoking, so it cost me a lot of money. And I remember sometimes about maybe halfway through a month between paychecks, I would have like £10. And I'd think to myself, well, I could use this £10 obviously by lunch or drinks or something, or I could buy cigarettes. And I thought to myself, well, you know, it's funny because obviously the cigarettes kill off your taste buds. So if I buy cigarettes, I won't be hungry, so I won't need a sandwich, and I get to have cigarettes. That was literally my train of thought. So I genuinely made a conscious decision to smoke instead of eat. That was the conscious decision I'd made back then. And thankfully, I've never been put in that scenario ever again. But that literally was the scenario that I put myself in. That was how I had weighed it up in my head. And that was indeed the addiction speaking to me, going, yeah, it's fine. No, don't worry about food, because I'm going to take care of you. The addiction in you, the parasite within your system, is going to take care of you. So don't worry. And you're thinking, oh, that's great. It's there's so many analogies I could pull out my ass to explain it. But again, I mean, what that leads to again is not just the external side effects of it, but certainly other people seeing it in you. Now, I find this stretches beyond addiction. I think this stretches just into the realms of third-party observation, because when you're involved in something and when you're part of something and right inside of it, it's never the same as being able to be outside of it and observing inwards. It's never the same. It's completely different, always. And it goes for relationships, which is why a lot of the time you probably see like some relationships, your friends don't agree with your partner, but you think they're okay because you've seen a different side of them, but your friends see another side of them, and blah blah blah. It's that kind of thing. It's the same with addiction as well. Only the people who do see what's wrong are pretty much right all the time. It's just the person who's addicted doesn't really want to be told that the thing that they've latched onto physically, emotionally, mentally, don't want to be torn away from it, because they're not prepared for that. They're not prepared to be taken away from that thing that they think is holding them up, their crutch, as it were. And so they then turn against the people who try to take it away from them. And this is again where addiction becomes actually quite terrifying, because it means that your addiction can actually push you away from your own family. It can push you away from your own friends, your own hobbies, and yourself, essentially. And I think we've all seen that happen now, where an addict has just changed. They've just turned. And it's a scary thing. It's a really terrible and scary thing to happen. So it shouldn't be taken too lightly. It certainly is a disease, without a shadow of a doubt. It's something that latches onto your mind and you can't control. But because in your mind is already then hardwired to believe that your addiction is not necessarily an addiction. It's just something that you enjoy doing. It's a hobby, if you want, and it's not hurting you at all. So that's how you can't really control it. It's suddenly seen as just something that you do, and it goes to very extreme lengths before you realise what you've been doing to yourself, almost to the point where it's just gone too far. And so yeah, it is relatively quite scary in that regard. I mean, I look at gaming, for example. I'm sure, again, a lot of the gamer people out there, and maybe some of you don't really play games will know, there've been instances of people playing games so long they've forgotten to eat, they've forgotten to go outside, they've forgotten to drink. Some people have actually forgotten to parent their own children, and lives have been lost because of it. As a byproduct of that happening, and that's a prime example. I mean, you think these people are crazy, they're idiots, and yes, they are, absolutely, because they've allowed themselves to get into that scenario. But once they're stuck in that scenario, unfortunately, there is no going back. Once they got into that phase where they had been addicted and they had got themselves latched onto that game, whatever it is, it's gone. It's too late. It is too late. It's over. They are as good as gone, because that's how it works. Unless someone physically came in, trashed all of their stuff, ripped them away from it, tied them up, and left them in a room alone by themselves so they could vent, because obviously they've been taken away from their game. There is no way back from that they can do themselves. It is literally a case of someone needs to just intervene in a rather aggressive manner, because again, I think that's how addiction works. It's a terrifying affliction, I have to say. And I guess to reach out to those who may not understand, I'll try and think of a good example. To those who may not understand what it's like to be addicted to something, I guess it is a case of, imagine something that you love doing. Imagine that you have a hobby, and for those who do actually have hobbies, first of all, well done, and also imagine that's your hobby. Now, this is something you enjoy doing all the time. Constantly. You cannot stop doing it. You love doing it. It makes you happy, and it's what you spend your time doing, and you don't want anyone to get in the way of that, because that's your thing and you love it. It could be your football, it could be going out drinking, it could be seeing your friends, it could be reading the paper, God knows, it could be drawing, whatever. Now, you love doing that, and you've been doing that for, say, 2 months now. You're in love with it. It's great, and you'll feel you're benefiting from it. You're feeling you're getting something out of it. It makes you feel good about yourself. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 people see you doing it, and they're like, what? I don't think you should be doing that. That's bad for you. That's really bad for you, and I don't think you should do that. Your initial response would be, in your own terms, fuck off. It would literally be, I'm sorry, who are you? What business do you have telling me how to live my life or what to do with myself? Who are you, and what rights do you have? And it'll annoy you. It will annoy you. However, it might plant a seed in your head going, yeah, this might be bad for me, but I love doing it, so I don't see why I shouldn't do it. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. And then more and more people find out you do it, and more people tell you that it's not a good idea and that you shouldn't do it. And it gets to this kind of this stage where you just don't like anyone anymore, because they're all trying to stop you from doing this thing that you like doing. And you become antisocial, and you're like, well, screw everyone else, because I love doing this, and I don't understand why people are trying to stop me from doing it. You're basically heading into the worlds of addiction now. And then, of course, if you decide that you don't actually want to do it anymore because it's upset you so much, you stop, but obviously you're still pining, you're still wanting to do that thing. You're wanting to, talk or play football, or draw, or garden, or whatever it is that you enjoy doing. You want to do those things. So you're still pining for that, and it makes you bitter all of a sudden because you're not doing it anymore, and you feel like it's everyone else's fault when actually it was just bad for you in the first place, but you just got latched onto it. I hope that kind of makes sense to those people who don't really understand it. But that's literally what it is. You don't see in your head that it's wrong, and you just know that it made you feel good at one time, so you want to hold on to it. And that's it. It is quite terrifying, to be honest. So, by all means, wish me luck for Stoptober, please, because I may need it. Apparently, by today, Friday, all the nicotine is out of my system, so it's going to be the worst day. What makes it even more annoying is the fact that tomorrow I'm working about 15 hours, so I'm going to be at work all day. So, yeah, wish me luck, guys. and hopefully everything should go all right. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Do comment, click the thumb button, share with a friend if you like. Do subscribe as well. Let me know what you think about addiction. Let me know if you have any opinions on the matter, or if you've obviously suffered from addiction of any sort whatsoever, even if you believe you suffered from addiction, or maybe a strange one. But guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you in another episode of I Play Games and Film It. And next week for another 3-4 Fridays. Thanks very much, guys. Bye-bye. Too smart, too fat, too shy. Too tough, too scared, too blind.